Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. Not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, ring my bell, baby. But, on to the point, I've had a number of people link me a video over on Larry Wheels' channel in which he trained with Jay Cutler and Mike O'Hearn. I thought this was fascinating. This was a fascinating lesson in the industry, and here's what I mean. This isn't even going to be fully about Jay Cutler at first, because yeah, Jay obviously doesn't know how to bench, and we'll get into that in a minute. A lot of bodybuilding fans are going to get really upset at that. They're going to say, no, he doesn't know how to bench like a power lifter. You may say, no, he doesn't know how to bench, and even Mike called him out on that. Mike O'Hearn called him out on that. Because Mike really and truly does know how to train. And I'm not a fan of Mike. People know that. People know there's been a history between Mike and I'm not going to get into all that. But Mike legitimately knows how to train. Like, straight up excellent as far as his training knowledge and work ethic goes. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Okay? You can dislike things about a person and still recognize their level of knowledge because it's there. But the thing is, you know, I've had a lot of people ask me when you watch Mike, and this video should answer this question for people. They're like, how does Mike get away with the stuff that he gets away with? You know, they're like, Mike has for years and years successfully put up accolades that he doesn't have, claims of titles, championships, and things that he doesn't actually have, that don't exist, they're not real, on websites, interviews, all this stuff for years and years and years, and he is still loved. One of the most popular, most famous people in the industry, in spite of straight up BS like that for years and years and years. He's unapologetic about it. Right? I mean, accolades that he does not have. He straight up claims for years and years and never takes it back, never takes him down. He just keeps on going. Doesn't even slow him down. I mean, he's been involved in products that you guys all know. We look and go, wow, that's insane. That's ludicrous. He's charging $700 for duck eggs. Okay? $700 for like a month's supply of duck eggs that are worth about 10 bucks. He sold the frog, which was, again, a glorified ab wheel, for $1,500. I think it's worth less than $100. He promoted it, pimped it, and pushed it, and he just keeps on trucking. I want people to stop and watch Mike operate. I haven't actually sat back and really watched Mike do his thing before till you watch him and his people skills. Guys who are into gaming and stuff, you know, you talk about charisma stats. That's like what an 18 charisma is in like the D&D universe, right? Mike's basically a paladin. He's basically a paladin. The charisma level. Because if you watch it, the way that he handles people, the way that he handled Jay Cutler, was so tactful and so diplomatic that he basically stood there and told Jay that he doesn't know how to bench press, that he doesn't know what he's doing at all, that he's going to hurt people. He's surprised he's not hurt. Basically, he more or less said, let me translate it, Jay, you really don't know how to train. I'm shocked you haven't destroyed your body doing this. Please don't demonstrate. People don't do what he does. Okay? Is basically what it was. But he said it and dealt with Jay through his words, his flattery, his compliments, his body language, the way he touched him. He did so in a way that sounded like a compliment. He basically told a former Mr. Olympia that they don't know how to train in front of a massive audience, while making it sound positive and actually flattery, and complimented him and made him feel good as a person while telling him he didn't know what he did. And I'm watching that going, wow, that's why Mike is so successful. I mean, just call it what it is. I mean, people can say respect the hustle, respect the charisma, whatever you want to call it. Most of us can't deal with people on that level. That level of being able to deal with other people, to basically tell someone who, again, that they really don't know what they're doing in front of a full audience while still complimenting them and making them feel good about it. That's a skill very few people possess. That is Mike's secret. That's his secret to his success. The guy is charismatic and he knows how to be diplomatic with people on a level that very, very few people have. That's actually impressive. People say, oh, his bench or whatever is impressive. No, guys, that is impressive. The way he pulled that off, that was impressive. That he told Jay that he's an idiot, basically. But he did it with a smile. Wow, okay. That's how he gets away with doing the things that he does. I mean, so people who always ask that, well, there you go. That's how he got away with it. Now, let's come over to the bodybuilding fans. Bodybuilding fans are going to hear this and be like, Jason, how could you say that a Mr. Olympia doesn't know how to... Guys, come back over and watch even what Mike said watching it. Jay doesn't know how to perform one of the most simple, basic exercises in a way that's not going to get people hurt. Okay? And let's get over to our point. That's the point I've made over many, many years, is that in many cases, not only do bodybuilders not know how to train everybody else, okay? I'm not talking about for themselves. I'm not talking about for themselves. Many of these bodybuilders are genetic freaks. They're all on very, very, very copious amounts of anabolic cocktails, okay? They're going to grow no matter what they do. You have to understand that. They're genetically gifted using sometimes amounts of substances that other people can't tolerate, because sometimes their tolerance level for side effects is so high that they can basically poison themselves and survive and not suffer that many health effects from quantities of anabolic substances that sometimes other people couldn't even handle. Okay, that is part of the genetics for pro bodybuilding, by the way, tolerance to the anabolics. And I think that's kind of how Scooby worded it, and I think Scooby's right. He's an old-timer, very respected, a long-timer in the industry, who said, basically, pro bodybuilding is a contest to see who can take the most drugs without dying. Meaning, in other words, some people have a genetic resistance to negative side effects of anything. It doesn't matter what we're talking about out there. Any substance in the world that has a toxicity and harms the body or can hurt people, different people have a different threshold of how much of it they can take and survive, sometimes for years on end. We all know this watching everyone from cigarette smokers to alcoholics to everything else. It should be obvious. It's pretty obvious at this point. Well, it's the same with anabolics. And so they get away with things in general that other people can't. And it's like Bill Starr had said many years ago, when, again, the guy who wrote Only the Strongest Will Survive in Football, and he wrote a full barbell programming system for football players that became very popular, was used all the way up to the NFL. Even Bill Starr said the average professional bodybuilder is not qualified to coach a high school football team in the weight room. They just aren't. Okay, they're in their own league, and it doesn't mean they're not successful in their endeavors. It's that they are running off of genetics and drugs. All that matters to them at a certain point is, can they keep getting tension to a muscle? Because at the end of the day, when you're that gifted and those sort of copious amounts of stuff are in your body, tension is tension, fatigue is fatigue. As long as they're getting tension into the muscles, those guys are going to grow like weeds. Doesn't mean that what they're doing is going to be useful for anybody else, particularly natural people or less genetically gifted people. You just can't do the things that they do. It's not going to work for you. That is really the case of you don't do what they do. Just because it worked for them, there's a very good chance it's not going to work for you. And this stuff I've covered in the past too, is that a lot of times some of the side effects of what they do prevent them from being able to train correctly. And therefore they develop training systems that oftentimes revolve around everything from the chemical level to the physical side effects of the things they put into their body, sometimes actually affect things like range of motion. Okay? They affect tendons in certain ways to where they can't even train like other people have to train to make progress. They can't do it. It can be problematic at a certain threshold. But that's neither here nor there. And I think the point that we need to remember is this does highlight again that a lot of times bodybuilders, even the best of the best in their endeavor, their training and what they do is so specific to them that if anyone else attempts to do it that way, instead of what we know works, working with real athletes and real coaches all over the world, that they're going to spin their wheels. And people have to understand that difference. And it's not that, oh, that causes hypertrophy and this doesn't. right? That's not what we're saying. We're saying is that genetic freaks on copious amounts of anabolics don't have the same training requirements you do. They can do things that will continue to make them grow, and they'll just keep thriving, that if you did, you would either get hurt or you would just stagnate for years on end. Okay? They don't have to have the same training knowledge to become the best at what they do that is required to basically just coach a high school football player to get stronger. They don't even have to have the knowledge required to do that. It's a different animal. It's different from anything else out there. Whereas in a lot of other endeavors, we have to know all of it. Let's come back over something like powerlifting, which again, Michael Hearn's the perfect example. Mike, pretty good knowledge of all of it, right? Pretty good knowledge of powerlifting, pretty good knowledge of strength training. He's very well-rounded in regards to all that. And you can't take that away from the guy. You can't. He's well-rounded in his knowledge of it. A lot of times powerlifters, for example, have to be, because you have to be ultra jacked combined with the neuromuscular efficiency to actually be good at it, right? It's a requirement, unless, again, you're also a genetic freak. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.